Welcome back, Scribe Tribe, and today we are going to be talking about Jabba the Hutt, the brand new GL coming to a Holotable near you very, very shortly. Last night we did actually get the kit reveal of Jabba the Hutt, the long-awaited kit reveal, I might add, and we're going to break it down in today's video. Let's do this. Alrighty, so we can see Jabba the Hutt looking rather beautiful there with Salacious B. Crum. He is a bounty hunter, a smuggler, a Hutt cartel, and a support. I'm surprised he didn't get the scoundrel tag, but I guess we will live without the scoundrel tag. You can see that he's got synergy suggestions with Cassant and Boosh Skiff Guard, Lando, which comes as no surprise. Those three brand new marquee characters were obviously going to be required for the optimum team for Jabba the Hutt, but then they're throwing in suggestions such as Boba Fett, Gamorrean Guard, and Mob Enforcer as potential fifths. Now, looking at this, it does look like the icon for Gamorrean Guard is slightly different to what we would normally expect. Perhaps we are due an update, and I really do hope that we do get a kit tweak to Gamorrean Guard. He is a requirement for Jabba, but I think his kit definitely needs a little bit of modernization in order to work. Mob Enforcer obviously did already get that update and turned out to be quite a decent character, but here's hoping Little Piggy gets some loving too. Yeah, I said that. Okay, moving on then. So let's check out the basics. Jabba lifts and supports bounty hunter, Hutt cartel, and smuggler characters throughout his kit, with an emphasis on the Hutt cartel. That should come as no surprise. While an ally with the My Kind of Scum buff is present on the team, Jabba cannot be directly targeted by enemy abilities, but is the subject to area of effect damage. Basically, think of him almost like Mon Mothma when she's got her Zeta. She'll appear on the field, but so long as this My Kind of Scum buff is on the field, he cannot be targeted. He cannot be hit directly, only indirectly. Okay, so he provides additional buffs called Hired Muscle, which provides a benefit based on the character's role, but when this expires, and it bestows additional buffs based on the character's role. And he also has some unique viability when it comes to raiding, which I think is good, because although the Crankor raid is largely done and dusted now, most guilds at this point are sweeping it rather quickly and easily, it's good to have a few more options, and hopefully gives us a little bit of insight to think that maybe CG isn't completely done with the raiding scene. Hopefully something new after this new TB is going to be focused around a new raid. One of the interesting aspects of Jabba the Hutt is the fact that he is the first and only large type character that they've ever introduced to the game. And I know what you're going to ask. You're asking, Scribe, what on earth is a large character? And I'll say, well, viewers at home, a large type character is, well, they're big. Now, the significance of this means you cannot put them in the ally slot, and you cannot have a spawned ally work in the team. Why though, is my question, and I'm sure it's your question too. What is the significance of not being able to use an ally? Now, this means you can't share Jabba the Hutt as a character for dark side battles. I don't think that's particularly relevant. It means you can't use the like of ARC Trooper's turret. I don't think that's particularly relevant. And you can't really use GBA's summon, the Geonosian Brute, with Jabba the Hutt. And again, I don't think that's something that you would typically do. So is this pointing to something else? Are we getting something else? How does this interact with Datacrons? Because Datacrons go in the ally slot. Does that mean we can't use Datacrons with Jabba the Hutt? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. But does it mean that in the future we are getting more characters that are going to feature within the ally slot? I don't know. It seems like an interesting choice. Maybe it was just a case of they wanted to make Jabba the Hutt so large and they just can't have it interact with the ally slot. Maybe it's as simple as that. Am I overthinking this? Let me know in the comments down below. Moving swiftly on though, let's take a look at his basic. It's called Illicit Business. Now, Jabba the Hutt is a GL, and that does mean that all of his abilities are Zetas, so be prepared to have your 120 Zeta mats, or whatever it is. Okay, so let's check out the animation here. It is a basic that will call an ally to assist, which is cool, always good, and he can ignore taunts. So, you call the weakest Hutt cartel ally to assist, dealing 10% more damage for each active Hutt cartel ally. Bounty Hunter and Smuggler allies gain protection up 10% for 2 turns. During Jabba's turn, he inflicts blind on the target enemy and gains 6% ultimate charge, and the weakest Hutt Cartel ally recovers 30% protection. Hutt Cartel allies gain protection up 30% for 2 turns. Okay, so there's a bit to unpack here. 1. This basic can ignore taunts. 2. It causes blind on a basic, which is huge. Blind is a really powerful debuff. It means that the enemy will guarantee miss their next hit unless they can't actually miss, but also has the ability to pass around protection up to essentially Hutt Cartel allies, which is great. His second ability is Crime Lord, and this has a cooldown of 4. You dispel all debuffs on all allies and inflict speed down for 2 turns on all enemies. Other Bounty Hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain Hired Muscle for 2 turns. Now, a debuff, a cleanse, as it were, on your team is great, but also inflicting speed down on the entire enemy team is a super valuable debuff. It really helps you get away from people. And then you're passing out this new buff, Hired Muscle. You gain 30% tenacity, immune to daze, and immune to fear. I'm guessing the reason this was introduced is because potentially there were some issues with Darth Revan teams causing all that fear. Darth Revan and Malgus, obviously. And Malak to a certain extent, I guess, causing issues to this team. So, Hired Muscle also provides different benefits based on the character's roles. All your attackers will, once per turn, whenever an ally uses abilities, assist, dealing 70% less damage. That's pretty good. Tanks become immune to critical hits. We know that with GK, it's annoying. I am a little bit put out by the prevalence of crit hit immunity in this game. It's been a part of the meta for so long now that crit hits are just largely, worthless, and also devalues the value of crit damage mod sets. But let's face it, guys, Datacrons do that all on their own. So, healers and support type characters. On an attack, ally recovers 10% health and protection, which is good. When this Hired Muscle ability expires, we are going to gain additional benefits. Bounty Hunters are going to gain defense penetration up, Smugglers are going to gain speed up, and Hutt Cartel are going to gain advantage for 2 turns. Now, I imagine those that have multiple tags that follow Bounty Hunter, Smuggler, and Hutt Cartel will gain the relevant buffs, all of them, as all the ones that they pertain to. I guess the one thing that sticks out to me here is that there is a call out specifically for healers. I know it says healer and support, but I don't actually think there's a single Hutt Cartel healer. I don't even think there's a Smuggler healer. There might be. But yeah, that's a bit interesting. Maybe we're going to see more Hutt Cartel release in the future. Who knows? Obviously, attackers, tanks, those are already prevalent within the Hutt Cartel. You've got the likes of Boba Fett, you've got the likes of Skiff Guard Lando, you've got the likes of Boushh Leia attackers there, you've got tanks in Kassantan. I think Mob Enforcer used to be a tank, but is now a support character, so that's no longer relevant. The second special that we have is called Crum's Revenge, and it's cool to see the little giggle there that you see from Salacious B. Crum as he throws a little thermal detonator out to the enemy team. That's pretty cool. This one has a cooldown of 3. This one dispels all buffs, deals special damage, and inflicts buff immunity on the target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled. Undispellable is great. I imagine you're going to be modding your Jabba the Hutt for a boatload of potency, so make sure you're doing that. The important thing here is that it dispels buffs first. So that means any characters that have got Foresight will lose the Foresight first, then it will deal the damage. So this is always going to hit an enemy short of them actually evading it. Foresight will do nothing against this ability. Inflicting the buff immunity is great, but obviously it can be resisted. Then it will inflict a thermal detonator on all enemies for 2 turns. You will then do an additional thermal detonator to all enemies for 2 turns for every 20% of Jabba the Hutt's ultimate charge. So obviously if he's got a full ultimate charge, you're going to inflict a maximum of an additional, 6 thermal detonators to the enemy team, which is pretty huge. That's a lot of thermal detonators. So, whenever a thermal detonator from this ability expires, all Bounty Hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain 2% mastery until the end of the encounter, which cannot be resisted. So, you obviously can't resist those thermal detonators, which is fantastic. All the additional thermal detonators, when they explode, you're going to be gaining additional mastery for your Hutt Cartel allies. Now, that's super cool. That's super cool. Say you landed those 6 thermal detonators on the enemy team, you're going to be gaining, what, 12% mastery stacking for your allies? That's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. His leadership ability now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is called his High Exaltedness. Final text. Bounty Hunter, Hut Cartel, and Smuggler allies have 30 speed, 30% mastery, and 30% max health. Damage Hut Cartel allies received is decreased by 30%. That is almost pretty standard benefits there. The 30 speed, the mastery bonuses, and the max health less so. But it's pretty prototypical of a GL to pass those sort of stats. The decreased damage that received by 30% is pretty useful. Maybe that means we're going to be able to take a bit more of a beating, which is nice. At the start of battle, other Hut Cartel allies gain a stack of My Kind of Scum for each Bounty Hunter ally, Hut Cartel, or Smuggler ally until the end of battle. So they should start with, what, 5? Yeah, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Jabba the Hutt is immune to taunt effects that can't be targeted, while an ally with My Kind of Scum is present. I mean, he's basically just never going to be targeted, right? Jabba the Hutt gains 3% ultimate charge whenever an ally with My Kind of Scum starts their turn or uses a special ability. So his ultimate is going to hit pretty quick. If an ally with My Kind of Scum defeats an enemy, Jabba the Hutt gains 6% ultimate charge. I think he is going to gain his ultimate pretty quick. So 3% ultimate charge whenever an ally with My Kind of Scum, which should be the whole team, let's face it, starts their turn, and if they use a special ability, he's also gaining an additional 3%, and if they kill an enemy, he's going to gain 6% ultimate charge. That's pretty quick. While enemies are inflicted with thermal detonators, their health and protection recovery effects are reduced by 50%, which is nice. You're obviously going to want to keep those thermal detonators on the enemy team for as long as possible. There is a lot of recovery baked into most GL kits. And, Datacrons with Health Steal also exemplify that issue. At the start of each encounter, after the first, Bounty Hunter, Hut Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain crit damage up, damage immunity, and offense up for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. So that basically only really pertains to territory battles and to a certain extent raids. Basically, when you're transitioning between phases in TB from phase 1 to phase 2, for example, the relevant faction tags here are going to gain crit damage up, damage immunity, offense up for 2 turns. That's going to make him super, super useful in TB, starting each wave with crit damage up, damage immunity, and offense up for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled. There's no way for the enemy to dispel it. That's going to be incredibly invaluable in territory battles. It'll be useful to a certain extent in raids, but honestly, I can't see it being a massive benefit in raids, just a nice little cherry on the pie, I guess. When Jabba the Hutt is in the leader slot, the following contract is active. While buffed with My Kind of Scum, deal damage to an enemy with an attack to enemies with thermal detonators 20 times. Now, I don't think that's going to be particularly difficult to hit. You're almost always going to be having thermal detonators across the enemy team based on this team. And you're going to be assisting out a turn on Jabba's basic and all this sort of business. I think it should be pretty straightforward to hit this contract. Enemies must be debuffed with thermal detonators before the start of an attack for count to progress. That makes sense. During rage, this contract is fulfilled immediately at the start of battle. That's quite useful. It's a nice little benefit there that during the start of raids, you just immediately hit contract. That's a good move. Because, trying to get those thermal detonators and hitting the raid boss 20 times, you're just going to ramp up his stats and then you'll die before you do anything. So this is nice. Once you have triggered Jabba's contract, ladies and gentlemen, all Bounty Hunter allies have their payouts activated, and all Bounty Hunter, Hut Cartel, and Smuggler allies gain 25% defense pen, offense, and potency. Allies with My Kind of Scum have 55% additional mastery for each stack, and recover 20% protection at the start of their turn. I mean, 55% mastery for each stack is pretty huge. If you're going in with a full team, that is, 280 odd % mastery, if I'm right. Is that right? That's a lot of mastery, guys. That is a lot of mastery. That's going to be useful. That is going to be useful. Yeah, you could probably solo Heroic Sith with a Hut Cartel team. It looks pretty likely to me that you could do that with Kassantan and being able to revive. I think that's possible. Okay, so let's check out his unique, the Illustrious. Jabba is pretty illustrious. Look at that slimy skin of his. It's just beautiful, glistening in the sun. At the start of each encounter, Hutt Cartel allies have their cooldowns reset. Bounty Hunter, Hutt Cartel, and Smuggler allies are revived and recover 60% health and protection. Let's not forget, this will be transitioning between phases. You won't revive if Nihilus annihilates your character, for example, because that prevents revives, but a standard death going from phase 1 to phase 2, you will revive, then you'll get your damage immunity, your offense up, the crit damage up. I can't remember what the other buff is. But yeah, so moving between phases in TB or in raids will revive all your characters and reset their cooldowns, which is great. Really, really useful. Jabba the Hutt ignores taunt during his turn. At the start of his turn, he dispels stealth from all enemies. Whenever Hutt Cartel ally is stunned, it is dispelled and they gain offense up for 2 turns. So this is similar to Darth Revan, being able to dispel a stun and convert it to ferocity. This one instead dispels the stun and converts it into offense up. Very useful. Being able to dispel stealth, also very, very useful in a number of scenarios. So you'll be able to target whoever you wish, really, which is super. If Jabba the Hutt is not in the allied slot, allies cannot gain bonus turn meter. Now, I imagine that this was due to some interaction where you put him with a smuggler or a bounty hunter, and the TM was just like completely overflowing. I'm not sure, but I imagine. If Jabba the Hutt is in the leader slot, whenever an enemy with less than 100% turn meter gains bonus turn meter, Hutt Cartel allies gain 7% turn meter. Whenever a Hutt Cartel ally loses turn meter, they gain bonus protection until the start of their next turn. It's pretty cool. It's similar to how they interacted with Slacker. You know, whenever they gain TM, he loses stats, and whenever he loses TM, he gains stats. This is almost better. So basically, if the enemy gains TM, you're going to be gaining TM. If they remove your TM, they're going to make you a little bit tankier, which is nice. It's nice. You can't really try to TM roll them. Maybe this was to counteract against CLS teams, I imagine. With the ability, there's a lot of TM control in a CLS team where you can take away TM, or you can or you build your own TM. This looks like it very deliberately counters a CLS team, for example, but I'm sure stuff like Imperial Troopers is also seen out by this type of unique. His second unique over here is Galactic Legend. This is the same benefit that all Galactic Legends have, that's stacking 10% max health, max protection per stack or per relic level. So it's obviously going to benefit you to have him at a higher relic level, but that's true of all GLs. Then he has a third unique, which is his large character, which is just, boy, he thick. Oh yeah. And his payout. Whenever Jabba the Hutt reaches his rewards from a contract, he gains the following payout. 40% additional mastery, and his ultimate charge gains are doubled for the rest of battle. That's pretty sick. Doubling up is going to be very, very useful for Jabba the Hutt. Twice as fast hitting your ultimate. Oh yeah, that Rancor is going to be knocking on the enemy door very, very frequently. And that does lead us to his ultimate, there will be no barging. So yeah, obviously you need to be a relic level in order to activate this ability, and you drop your enemy into the Rancor pit and instantly kill them, which cannot be revived, which I'm super happy to see. So, Jabba gains 3% ultimate charge whenever an ally with My Kind of Scum starts their turn or uses a special ability. If an ally with My Kind of Scum defeats an enemy, or Jabba uses his basic ability during his turn, he gains 6% ultimate charge. So it won't take you too long in order to hit the ultimate, because you've got a number of special abilities. You're going to be gaining almost, well, like 9% a turn, basically, every turn. And then if you kill an enemy as well, you're also going to be pumping up even quicker. So, yep, super, super useful. Jabba the Hutt instantly defeats the targeted enemy. Enemies defeated by this ability can't be revived. You just summon in that big old Rancor and he chomps down on them. Game over. If you do this on a raid boss or against a Galactic Legend, all it does is dispel the buffs, inflicts armor shred until the end of the encounter, and deals true damage to the target enemy and stun all other enemies for 1 turn, which can't be resisted. Super useful. Really, really useful. That's how it interacts with Galactic Legends. Armor shred is obviously a very, very useful debuff to have. It is locked, it's permanent for the rest of the battle, but even getting that AoE stun across the enemy team, it's just invaluable, because it's a stun that cannot be resisted, and stuns are always useful. When you use it against raid bosses, you deal true damage to the target enemy equal to 30% of Jabba's max health 5 times. Now, that means it's going to be 5 instances of damage in the Crankor raid. That means you're giving the enemy boss a bonus turn. But, you know, he should have quite a large stack of health, Jabba the Hutt. We haven't seen his stats yet, but he's gaining that 30% from his unique. He's also gaining an additional 10% per relic level from his Galactic Legend unique as well. So I'm thinking it's going to deal some decent damage. I don't think it's going to be near cat levels of damage for raids, but it still should have a certain level of viability. So yeah, I'm super excited about this kit, guys. I think it looks like a good, fun, thematic GL. I think it'll absolutely counter JMK Cat. I think it will do perfectly well against other GLs, and I think it's going to be absolutely pivotal in territory battles. Just the little cherry on the top means it will be quite good in raids by the looks of things, waiting to see just how good it's going to be. I'd like to know your thoughts though, guys. Please do take to the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about Jabba the Hutt as a GL, and what are you excited to see for next. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to your boy Scribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out. Just giving a quick shout out to my patrons. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and without your support, I wouldn't be doing this today. Thanks so much.